beautiful weather we've been having.
It's been on back order, but I finally got here.
So you're in charge.
Beautiful weather tomorrow night. It's men's night at the golf course.
And you have a
We're
meeting.
never gonna hear the end.
Well, I'm not on the committee, I'm just a visitor.
Did you have to start before the pledge? I mean, man, it was really a great thing.
No, I already, you missed some of it already, so. I get here early to hear the real thing.
It is 9 o'clock. Pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Consider for approval minutes and agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes agenda.
I'll second it.
Motion by Jensvold, second by Derby to approve the minutes and agenda. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And now the bell is ringing. Scott Minders.
7530, isn't it?
Yep. Good morning, Scott. We're ready for you. Thank you.
You guys get the options from Andy.
Yeah, I got an email.
We need to print some of those for people tomorrow night, or
I can.
that'd be great. Don't you think?
Yep. I'm hoping that other people will bring stuff also.
Yeah, for sure.
I hope that Andy's not the only one that comes up with something.
I think it's just so hard to look at that stuff sometimes on your phone. And when we were in Denver, every restaurant we went to was a QR code or whatever. And it's just like, all right, burgers, open it up. You know, it's just like, hand me a menu. I get so tired of being on my phone anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But the last thing I want to do is be on my phone at a restaurant. I mean, it's even at church, you know, all the hymns or all the songs are on your phone. You have to open your phone in church. No, thank you.
He wasn't carrying those things around.
Hey, Scott.
Hey,
Good morning.
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 Not a lot of updates since the last meeting. Of course, we were a pretty skeleton crew over the 4th of July holiday. But our guys are back to work on the L23W1 bridge. Hopefully, pipes in the ground and getting backfilled later today, if not already. And most likely have that road open by the end of the week, if not, but possibly early next week.
Julie has joined.
And we'll start on the next project, which is E36W1, south east of Buffalo Center. And we'll be juggling the rest of the projects as we go forward, I guess. So that's what I can tell you at this point. Other than that, I'll mention we have sign reflectivity survey going on. So Misty, who was helping me with the project in the office, is driving around with a reflectometer gun. It looks kind of like a cordless drill ×3 in size, and you hold it up to the sign and measure the reflectivity.
During the day, or?
Yeah, you can do it during the day, which is nice. The other options are all nighttime. So she's up by Scarville right now, kind of working her way across the top of the county and then down the east tier townships.
So if they don't meet the reflectivity level, then you take them down and put new ones up.
Right, what she's doing is just marking them in a system, right? So then at the end, we can export a list of all the signs that need to be replaced. So we'll make an order and categorize them by township, and then the guys can put them up as, you know, we have time in the fall or winter even.
So is there a gradual range within that, or is it just yes or no?
Yes or no, there's a threshold that they need to meet, and she has that criteria, and the reflectometer gives her basically a number, and the number is either higher or lower than the threshold, and pass fail. Yeah, it's a nice objective way to survey the county and make sure everything meets standards.
Anything else?
That's all I have.
And we go to 3 then, approve the plans and specifications for R74, A34, A38 paving, project number FMC095. 83, 84, 85-5595.
Okay, yep, this is a project called Hot in Place Recycling. And the project is located on County Road R74 south of Lake Mills all the way to the county line. And then the 2 paved roads that go from R74 to the Worth County line, the one that goes by Rice Lake and the one that goes toward Joyce. Hot in Place Recycling is more in the family of maintenance than construction. The contractor will move in and use large heaters on semis to heat up the top 2 inches of the asphalt road, mix in a rejuvenating agent and pave it right back down. We'll follow that up with a surface treatment, either chip seal or microsurfacing.
Okay, so the bar heater heats it up, does it lift it up and mix it, or does it?
So it's a series of, the train's like a quarter mile long, I'll call it. Each truck has a big propane tank and a flat heater, and then like a mill. And they'll kind of windrow it together through a series of heating and milling operations, so that at the end, they'll pick it up, the heated asphalt, and put it in basically a paving machine, and comes out looking like brand new. They do recommend you put a top coat of some sort on it, so that's why we're gonna put a micro surface or a chip seal on top. I haven't made that decision yet, and that'll be by a separate contract, but hopefully the same year.
So in a micro surface, is that what's like on the interstate that?
Well,
They've had problems with it peeling off?
yeah, that is.
So you wouldn't use granite in it, would you?
We aren't planning to use granite. We're planning to use limestone. And if you want to see what that looks like, last year Highway 69 north of Lake Mills received limestone microsurfacing, and we also did 105 the mile east of Lake Mills. The DOT milled before, so theirs is smoother than ours, but we'll have brand new pavement, so it'll be smooth.
The report from the DOT office was the granite didn't work out so well. It was really hard on their scraper blades.
Yeah, that's what we have understood from past experience too. I think in 2006, we did some north of Thompson, and that was the report as well. The 1 mile, we have not noticed that, although it's only 1 mile. So hoping that isn't a problem. I wouldn't think it would be. I mean, limestone is much softer than granite. And we haven't seen any major wear on that mile either. I think it looks good now. So
Is the granite more of like a coarse or something?
It's really hard. So
I know it's hard.
It burns up blades, and then they were having problems
What
with
do you
it.
think of flat
When,
surface?
when you'd be going along and all of a sudden you peel out a whole section. That's why on the interstate you see these big bare spots.
The story I got on that was when they're putting the microsurfacing down, it goes in a slurry.
Yeah.
And if the machine's not cleaned up well, it'll kind of glob partially set material in front of the paver, and that doesn't stick. So if they don't do a good job of keeping the road clean in front of the paver, I'll call it, then they have adhesion problems. It's the only place I've seen that, but I know where you're talking. So we'll take measures, preventative measures to make sure that doesn't happen, and hopefully we don't have that kind of issue.
Question on the claims, there was one for, from Northern Iowa Construction for $103,000 for an loom structure plate. What is that?
Yep, so G14W1 bridge replacement this year is the aluminum structural plate pipe arch. So it's a stack of plates that you get on a semi. They're stacked in the yard right now, but they'll be assembled into, I think it's something like 24 foot wide by 14 foot tall squashed shaped pipe.
This is that one you were talking about, this oval shaped one.
Yeah. Oval, or, I mean, the bottom's flatter than the top, so we usually call it a squash pipe shape. Because when you get them as metal, like smaller ones, they will actually make the round pipe, put it in a machine and actually squash it, if I understand. This one comes that way and bolted into the shape. Yeah, it's 199 foot long structure. So we're planning at this point to build it on top of the ground and then set it in the hole all together.
Use steel bolts or aluminum bolts?
I understand they're galvanized.
Galvanized.
Galvanized, but doesn't react with aluminum?
I don't have that memorized, but you can safely assume that they'll send us things that won't react
You
with
would
each
think.
other. So that's what that expenditure is. Like I said, we already have it. It's in the yard. We just have to eventually haul it back out there to put it together. Kind of unassuming they're in the pile right now. It doesn't look like much.
Doesn't look like $101,000.
No, definitely not. They fit
metal.
together pretty neatly, so, it's not even a very big pile of
So it
sheets.
saves a lot on shipping.
Yeah, that certainly is true, but
How much weight is involved? You remember? Was it
I don't know, I mean, the plates you can lift by hand,
Oh.
they're aluminum.
Mhm.
Aluminum's pretty light, compared to the truckloads of concrete precast we get. Yeah, I think it came all in one truck.
Did you say we have any other ones like that in the county, or is this the first?
We have two that are similar. So this is a pipe arch. The other two are boxes. They're not perfectly square like a concrete box is. They have a little bit of curve to the top and the sides are slanted in. But the one's just north of Three Fingers Campground entrance. And then the other one's quite a bit smaller, and it's on our 74 south of Highway 9. Wouldn't really even notice it unless you knew where it was. That one looks fantastic. The one out by Three Fingers has a little bit of deflection we're watching, but still serving its purpose.
So you need a motion on this?
On the plans, yep.
I'll make the motion to approve the plans and specifications for R74, A34, A38 paving. Project number FM CO95 83, 8485, 5595.
I'll second it.
Motion by Smith, seconded by Derby, to approve the plans and specifications All in favor, say aye.
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 One thing I'll add, and I mentioned we'll have a separate contract for the surface treatment, but we'll be meeting with some contractors this fall to get a game plan for next year's pavement maintenance. And I'm looking at doing $1 million in surface treatments, which is kind of a big deal, but it's part of the stretching out some pavements so we don't have everything come due here in 5 years. So that'll be a kind of a big project to get put together and figure out what we're gonna do. But this will be part of that as well.
It's good to look at the big picture. Is there anything else today, Scott?
That's all I have.
All right.
Those 3 projects are all combined into one plan set, so just one signature page.
What do they do on bridges then? Just the same thing?
Well, the concrete can be damaged by a heater, so they need to stay away from it by a certain amount of space. So this summer, we're doing some asphalt patching, so we'll do the parts closest to the bridge so they don't have to be so close. And they're all very rough. Well, the south approach on R-74 on the bridge there is really bad. It's been bad. We've tried a few things to try and improve it, and hopefully this is the last step to make it ride well.
Better?
Yeah,
Yeah, there's quite a,
it's bad.
Yep.
It's a peat there, so whatever we do seems to be temporary.
oh.
Just moves a lot.
Hmm.
What'd you say the timeline on that was?
This one will bid in October, so they will have the summer of next year, and there's a window by spec when they can do it. Temperature's got to be right, and I can't remember that window. Middle of summer, give or take 3 months. They'll fit us in whenever they're nearby. This is the contractors that do this work there's only a couple of them, and they're nationwide. So they'll kind of fit Iowa projects together and that kind of thing.
How fast can they go down a mile?
Well, they'll do it in halves, so I think it's something like 3 or 4 lane miles a day. So it'll be quick, even though, we have 14 miles or so, but it'll be
It'll be done in a
week,
week.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
weeks.
hardly be over a week.
Yeah.
If the going's good.
So they'll have a pilot car or?
Pilot car and flaggers on the ends, yeah.
What fun.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's all. We'll say goodbye.
Mm-hmm.
Shall return.
I'll call Chris.
Naughty, you didn't go before I left the house.
Is that his Willie?
There it is.
We'll see when he comes back in, if he's going like this.
Man, you brought back a memory.
The soil borings for lookout for
Hey, Chris, we're ready for you if you're available. Thank you.
That was one of the first visuals I ever got when I first came here was he comes walking in the door, and I think it was Mike that said something about it, and then here he comes, he's just jumping around. Okay, what did I just walk into?
Hello?
Hi.
He'd always say something different.
Bill will be right back.
I was gonna say, I thought I saw him.
Exactly.
At least he doesn't shake his chair. All this time.
He would, like, I don't know, somehow he'd rub it against it would just make it, ew.
No,
Like,
usually it's the armrest that usually
I
goes
think it
right
was
against.
going against the side of the
Yeah,
thing.
Well, you missed it, you really did, it was.
I was just gonna say, it must be really boring now, guys.
It was, you just.
So quiet.
No Mike and no Willie, so, sorry. I don't even know any good jokes, so.
We're all good.
Auditor's office will discuss drainage matters.
I talked to Rick briefly on Friday, about DD 92 and DD 111, 89, but he's gonna be gone all this week, so I won't get another chance to talk to him until next week to see when we can get a report for 92 and just tell him what we need for DD 89, and so I just wanted to let you know that there's no updates on those because of that.
Okay.
did you talk to him on the 47 issue in town?
We did when we were there, we called him,
Oh,
but there's no reason to talk to him further.
But I meant on the classification and stuff.
Yeah, no.
Or-
No, there's no need to go forward with that.
Okay.
At this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, I felt like we had a good discussion out there.
We did, we had all the greatest minds in the whole county
Right.
standing around this big hole in the ground.
Right.
I
But,
wasn't there.
Oh, you weren't invited.
okay, we just had some of the greatest.
Some of them.
Some of the greatest
So
minds.
Almost all.
What was the final overview?
I think the first step they wanna do is maybe the city is to reroute a couple of their tiles into that main railroad underneath the ground. And that way, some of the water won't be coming back into this bowl. That would alleviate Randy's problem from the nursing home of the cleaning out of it, and maybe it wouldn't be so bad.
It might actually even work. I mean, it's still not gonna be a
It won't be perfect,
safe situation necessarily, but,
right, but it would be a good start.
so, I don't know if Fran talked to you or not, but I followed up with him and, Scott was holding this paper that whole time that made it sound like the city had helped out the care facility
Mm-hmm.
with some funding.
Mm-hmm. When I looked, okay, I haven't gotten that from him yet. I want to get that resolution. And I'm trying to go through the old big book of minutes, and I found something that I think it was TIF money that was given.
Mhm.
That might change how things might get repaired in the future.
Yeah,
But I need to find the whole,
and who's responsible?
yeah.
Yeah.
It
So
just
if that
says
was
in those.
TIF money that was given or used or
Mhm.
promised,
Mhm.
then that's a different story.
Right.
Just to summarize, though, we kind of think it's not our responsibility,
The
You know.
district.
the district's responsibility.
In looking at the map, lat 13 is to the east further. In looking at the physical right there, both Rognus and Helgeson believe that lat 13 comes to that bowl.
Comes right into that.
As
Depression.
As a private lateral?
Nope, as lat 13. It's just wrong on the map.
And that's
It's-
why we called Rick.
So nothing goes south then?
Well, it just goes, instead of it being right here, it's right here. It's the same shape, but it's not where we
On the
think it
map
is on
is
the map.
different. Yeah.
And that could be because maps are as close as we could get back in 1969 or whenever they did that yellow book. But both of the contractors agree that that might be it. There's another one that comes in from the east, more straight to it. Maybe that lat came up and then came over. Unless we probe it, which would cost the district money, at the time we felt like, let's not do that yet. Let's not maybe do that. Lat 13 has such a small portion of people. Most of the people that use the facility are in Lat 12, which encompasses a lot. So if we just, if it's this one, if it's this one, if it's over here, if any of those three need to be fixed, we can still call it Lat 13 because it would still be the same people. There's a tile that comes in higher out, and that's, Helgeson's put that in for this, the
City.
eaves troughs that come off of the buildings for the nursing home garages and stuff. There's like 4 or 5 different tiles that come into this bowl.
Private.
So, private. I mean, there's 5. We just don't know who all owns what.
And nobody has any records,
No.
you know.
Another suggestion was that maybe we reroute 13, if that is it that comes into there. Maybe we reroute it around the bowl and we have no use of that facility. And 13 would just be its own. If we needed to fix it, great, we go about our day. So the first thing we want to do is just maybe the city does their part, move theirs, and that would maybe just fix it all. Because the tile that's coming in that they looked at is running. So it isn't in disrepair at this point.
Where does that tile come from? They don't know.
It looks like it runs,
Railroad?
it runs diagonal a little bit. It'd be nice to know at some point where 13 is physically, because it looks like it connects north of the railroad, almost at Winnebago Street. Well, if it's way over here, where does it go on the north side of the railroad to get to over there? Why wouldn't they have connected it right into 12? A lot of questions. Does it need to be answered right now? No.
I don't know if anything would have been diverted when they built the nursing home.
I don't know if we'll ever know
This-
that answer.
This structure just looked like it was kind of a fix to all the runoff that came from the
Right.
new assisted living. I mean,
And-
it looks like that to me.
And they think that some of this stuff was built because our tile was too small. So they were trying to fix all the water that was coming in because our little dinky 8-inch couldn't cover it all. So then they made
That's not a storm tile.
this, and then they made this, and well, who knows?
Some of it even sounded like it might have even been a private individual that wanted some of that coming off of their backyard.
Right, there is a gentleman to the west that mows very nicely up to where the railroad track, the rocks end. And so they took the tile that was from the west and put it under the ground to come out further east, so he could do that, and he has a nice backyard. That was fine, he probably paid for that himself
He probably
and
did.
went about his way, and it looks great.
Well, he worked for the city, so
Oh, so we could get that done. And that Scott called Rick Lilly about all that weeds. I don't know what he's found out, but hopefully if we can get that sprayed, that'll alleviate some of that too.
yeah. Along the railroad track, there's all sorts of brush and small trees and
Noxious weeds.
thistles.
Yeah.
and wild parsnip.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, so a lot of
That's
that, when it dies, is going into this basin and plugging it.
But that's in town.
That's the
That-
city limits there.
Well, no, it's the railroad that would be,
Yeah, but still within the city limits.
don't they spray within the city limits, the
Or
railroad?
The county right of ways.
Oh, okay. I don't know if anybody knew that,
I didn't,
because somebody else suggested it, I don't think we did.
I know.
So
City's in charge of it.
somebody said, oh, we should get a hold of the weed commissioner. Rick Lilly.
Yeah, the city would be in charge of their
He
own
gives
within the
guidance,
city
maybe.
limits.
Okay, well,
But
that's good to know.
the county would only be outside the city limits.
Right where the,
Okay, see, I thought it was the railroad that would be in charge of that.
well, and they should be within their right of way.
Well, that's where it is, it's 50
Right.
feet.
Not good luck getting them to do anything.
Yeah, the railroad's not gonna do anything either.
No,
Maybe they'll bring one of those helicopters in with the big blade on and come down and swoop
Those
in,
are
cut
cool.
off.
that'd be sweet. Just a couple of guide wires up there, it's fine.
Yeah,
I'm sure they're good.
I love those videos.
I watched it live.
Me too, over by Joyce, they had those, that's a scary looking thing if that thing got loose.
Yeah, if they were to Swoop a little too low, you wouldn't wanna be around there, that's for sure.
Okay, so that, I really don't have anything other than those updates.
But Rick's aware of what we're wishing for and when he comes back. And
Yeah, like I said, he's just gone this week, so.
Yep.
I'll find out more next week.
all right.
I've got a couple of drainage things.
Okay.
DD 22 by Thompson there by
Mhm.
Dan Swearingen's. We were
Oh.
in there
Mhm.
and put in some non-perf, but, now the lat going to the south, I can't remember, it's lat 3 or
Three, I
something.
think.
Homestead.
Holstead's, yeah, he's the one that.
He called
said it's
you?
compromised, yeah.
Yeah.
And, Derek Yeagy's gonna go out there and dig it up and see what's going on there as far as finding a solution to that.
Do we know when he's gonna do that?
Wednesday or Thursday.
Okay. I just know Mike said he couldn't cut his hay because it was too wet.
Yeah,
And I said, well, in my notes, you were going to get a hold of a couple contractors, so I told him to call you.
he's gonna run it, he's gonna dig a hole, and he's got a locator and a camera as far as that goes. He's gonna run the locator up there. If he hits a plug, then he knows.
But if it's full of water, it's gonna be hard to really see.
Did we talk to Dan Swearingen about the trees?
Yeah.
Okay,
I don't think the problem is in where the repair was done, because
Okay.
Dan's is still draining good.
oh,
So the
good.
main is working good. We
Okay.
only worked on the main, so it's gotta be the lat, it's gotta be
Maybe where-
compromised towards the
yeah.
north end of it, before, or right where it connects to the main.
Okay,
But, because Dan says his is draining good, so.
perfect.
And then, DD 34, Grant 32, down by Buford Stores, we already did a few years ago, we put non-perf through Buford's Grove to keep the tree roots from getting in.
Mhm.
Well, it didn't keep the tree roots from getting in, so now they wanna dig up each seam, get the roots out of it, and try to put the cement around each joint.
Can you do that?
I suppose you can, I don't know if it works, it seems like cement, roots would probably work in between with that and the tile too, but,
Would the cement hurt the joints from when they
Expand your contract.
expand and contract? Yeah, would that work?
yeah, I don't know, he says the Bill Trunkills, they've done that stuff before, so,
Really? Well, it works great. I don't know.
yeah. And then right out there's another lat, an 8-inch, that, is really shallow and not working well, and they wanna reroute it a little bit to where there's a little more cover. They just wanna reroute 800 feet of it, that's about 3,000.
$3,000?
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
To do that, it's 800 feet of,
of 8-inch.
8-inch.
And then they're gonna lower it to original grade?
Yeah, no, they're just they're taking it over to where there's more cover. I don't really even put it any deeper. No,
Gotcha.
it's just-
Mhm.
And then also, the price for digging up all the joints and stuff is $10,486. And putting cement around them is his estimates.
Can you have him send me an estimate paper-wise?
Yeah,
Because I would wanna send a letter to the landowners.
all right.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I mean, I've got a copy of it here.
Oh, you can just forward the email and I can print it if you'd like.
Well, I got it as a text, so
We'll get
that
it.
means I have to figure out how to run my smartphone.
Do you want me to do it for you?
We can help you.
We can,
It's all
yeah.
right.
Yeah, we can.
We can.
Willie could have done it.
Well, they could have done it.
Oh,
It's kind of like when I was driving truck and guys were having a hard time backing their truck in next to me, and I get on the CV and says, "You want me to back your truck in for you?" I had several take me up on it. I wasn't gonna be able to sleep until they were, because they were gonna hit somebody.
Okay, so lat 22, lat 3 is Yagi, DD 34 is Buford Store, and who is doing that? Did you say Trunk Hills?
Yeah, it's Trunk Hill's the guy's name, but it's,
Is it B&B Drainage?
um,
It's out of.
Brand
Grant, there you go. I knew it was a B.
Excavating or something like that, yeah.
Yeah, I've paid bills to him before. so.
Yeah, they do the work out at the golf course and stuff.
Yeah.
And they've
And they're
done,
right there.
they've done for my brother-in-law by up my area.
Yeah. No, they're reasonable guys.
Where are they out of?
Oh, down by Tyke or so.
Well,
Yeah, they're just across the.
They're just across the border into Hancock.
Cassuth.
I think
Are they in Hancock?
I think they're just south of Buford Store's place.
Yeah, I think.
And that would be
Trunk Hill-
Hancock,
Trunk
okay.
Hill lives in Winnebago County, I think. Doesn't he?
Well, there was one, no, not this, I'm not sure where he lives.
I don't remember.
I think one of them.
But they're just right over.
In that Tri-County area.
So,
Okay.
that's all I know.
All right, well, that's a lot.
So we're good. Bill, you're,
You're sending it to her?
Oh, yeah, I'm trying to figure it out here. All you gotta do is figure out how to find your, just send it to your email or to your
either way,
phone or text
However you wanna-
message. How do you want it?
however you want to send it, because it's all gonna work.
All right.
Whatever easier for you.
Dumb guys and smartphones just don't mix. You know?
Right? So, all right, well, thank you.
All right, yeah, thanks.
Thanks, Chris.
Is there a way to share it to email? Hit the share button.
Yeah, I hit the share button. No, all I gotta do is find,
Direct.
Gotta find her.
yeah.
So consider for approval a soil boring proposal. I assume that's for that lot over by the,
And I talked to WCTA and they were okay with us doing soil borings on their property, so.
good. If I remember right, everyone thought it was pretty reasonable, what's it turned into?
And this would be paid out of our allocation to the public health through
ARPA.
ARPA.
How many did they decide they needed? How many borings?
Let's see the number. Let's see if there's actually a number. This kind of gives a plural soil borings, that's $3,000. They also are paying $800 to Chosen Valley for the locating.
Well, can't we just call 811?
Well, Iowa One Call would have to be contacted for utility locate. Drilling would not take place till utilities are located. Well, I guess that would be if there cannot be, then they would retain. It says if the property owner is unable to locate the utilities within the digger. Well, they're the ones doing the locating.
Yeah,
And
So
the
they're
other,
just gonna
the other
get-
would be
get
the city,
$800
the city electrical,
yeah.
so.
That's kind of more than what we talked about.
Yeah. There must be more boring they were gonna do, probably because of the size of the area we're gonna work on. Because we were gonna go put paving in there and stuff, I suppose.
Why does everything get to be double in price? Right? Everything.
We should start charging twice as much for our services, right? Well, maybe it
Yes,
doesn't
you
work
can
that
try.
way.
Yes, you can try.
Compensation for it is until January. Just hang on.
Which services are you talking about?
After that, we may get half.
my best, guys, I'll do my best.
You know, that's a funny realization that I just had just in the last month was that I get frustrated sometimes with people because you think they're not doing their best. You know, it's just in all walks of life, not necessarily this. And then I sort of had this realization that maybe that is their best. I mean, honestly, maybe that is their best, you know? And it helped me not be so frustrated with people, not necessarily contractors. I'm not necessarily talking about contractors, but everywhere, you know, it's just, maybe that is their best.
And some people take twice as long and do a really bad job, and there are other people who take half the time and do a really good job.
Yeah. It helped me be more,
So
give more grace to people.
what was the cost on this? Did you have a cost? I didn't see a cost.
I think 3,000. About the third or fourth page.
So did we run this past the architect, or do we not need to
He's
run?
the one that,
He's the one who did it.
So the architect actually did it, but it came through this chosen valley then,
we would
right?
be hiring him. We talked about that we're,
Okay,
we
so
would be
he's
hiring
already
him, and
seen
they-
this though, right?
Mhm. Yep,
he organized it.
he
Okay.
sent it to me.
He's the one who sent it to you. Okay.
Yep.
$18 a foot. Well, do we have any discussion about it, guys?
I'll make a motion to approve the soil boring proposal for the public health.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion by Derby, seconded by Jensvold to approve the soil boring proposal. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Two, Bill?
Yeah,
And this needs to be signed by all three of us?
We
looks
don't
like?
need a stamp on it, do we?
I don't think so. I think the motion's good enough.
Is it dated on there and stuff?
Is there a place to sign?
Mhm. There's
Oh.
3 places.
Oh, yes.
Good enough?
Yes, then all three of you need to sign, please. It's, so where the WCTA property is. It's that.
North of public health.
Got it, okay. Expansion purposes, got it, all over.
If that's the route we go, we want to see if it's a viable option. See if there's any hidden treasures there.
Off of, that kind of thing, yeah.
We're talking about getting people from Oak Island down here.
Really?
All right, so that motion has been passed and we're getting the signatures, sending around. Consider for approval of semi-monthly county claims.
The Dynasty boys are doing it too.
Yeah, I noticed that too, I saw them in town.
That would be,
There was a bunch of guys walking around looking like that.
While we're sending those around, we can do the payroll from last. That's the payroll from last week.
so do we stamp it this week or last week?
I would do, well, you're stamping it this week. You can just stamp it this
Sorry,
week.
what did I
It's
do?
here this week.
looked at it. I wrote 9.
Monkey see,
Mine- but mine
monkey
was-
see, monkey do.
Mine was bigger and bolder, so I had to really make a scribble.
That was the claims, I suppose I
Oh,
had to
I
sign
gotta
it.
sign it.
So my monthly.
Oh,
I'll try to be more concise in my pen.
I just know not to trust it for now.
So my title was Supervisor Stamper.
Joyce. Thank you.
Who chaired that meeting last week? You chaired it, didn't you? But I wasn't here. I mean, I was here on the phone, but you were chairing it, weren't you?
Oh, good to have the power again.
A different size hat. So if they already have a stamp on them, I don't have to stamp them.
Right. There was some we did last week, and then there was some we didn't.
So am I signing, or am I stamping every sheet, because you got 1 of 2, and you just do the number 2, and
If they're 1 of 2, you can just do
second
the
one?
second one.
Okay. Well, no, it's 1 of 2, and there's only 1. That's just the way the report comes. Yeah, things have changed, different now.
Well, so we're going to start printing everything again so that we can prove things a little bit better, so.
Cute little notes.
have to have any motions or anything on that stuff from last week then, or?
No, we already did it.
So we're, did we do the semi-monthly?
You've not made a
Nope.
motion for that yet.
I'll make a motion to approve the semi-monthly county claims.
I'll second it.
Motion by Derby, second by Jensvold to approve the semi-monthly county claims. All in favor? Aye. You do that?
Yes,
Motion passed.
I was thinking that.
Oh,
Yeah, we could hear it. Don't worry.
Concentrating so hard.
I know,
Yeah.
the focus was just, it was one of those things, and he's on camera, which makes it even better. People are seeing he is really into what he's
You would
doing.
think I didn't have any feelings the way you guys are talking.
We're being very honest.
We all heard the static.
It just seems so sincere. As far as you know, I believe everything you just said.
Well, that's good, and I see that in your face as well too, Bill, really, honestly. It shows.
We were just impressed with your laser focus.
Or is it just that deer in the headlight look? What is this?
Well, now that you mention it.
So, all these, do I have to sign them?
No, the payroll is just Susan.
Well, I mean, the top one here, is there something, because that one I signed
From
last
Vice-
week.
Vice
Then the
Chair.
rest of them are just
If
got
they were already stamped last week, I didn't stamp them.
So,
Yeah, because you already, because some of them we did last week, and
oh,
some of them were.
But they're all in
doing
the
this
same stack.
all right. So then good, because I didn't want to have to write my name in vice chair.
Therein lies the computer.
Yes, yes.
Yes, they were already done last week. We don't need to do them again this week, but they're all in the same pile because,
I just thought
We're
maybe
just
those
keeping
were
them all
done last
together.
week, they just weren't there to be signed or something.
yeah, the extra ones that weren't done last week. The 4th of July holiday held up payroll. It actually wasn't done till Wednesday afternoon, so you just sat here a long time.
Yes. Well, you'd have got it done sooner if I was sitting here the whole time. We gotta get rid of this guy.
Thank goodness you always put all these lovely little paper clips on everything. I like it. All right, where are we at? We did the semi-monthly county claims. So we are ready to consider for approval Recorder's quarterly report. Hello.
All right, good morning.
Good morning.
There's that. It's a big quarter. We had boat renewals, we just finished those, so. That's every 3 years, so it's
But they stagger.
not boats. They're always due April 30th, every 3 years. And they gave them an extra 2 months this time. Not sure why, without a penalty until July 1st. It's a DNR thing. I think it slipped through on a law that wasn't supposed to. It's a big quarter. We took in over 82,000, so that's quite a bit.
Wow.
Just in your fees then, or?
No, that's state fees
Yeah.
too.
Say,
Usually you don't get all that.
what do you make on each boat?
$1.25.
Same as the others.
Yeah, the state got 57,000 of that.
I'll make a motion to approve the quarterly report.
I'll second it.
Motion by Derby, second by Jonesville to approve the recorder's quarterly report. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Suppose you want to stick around for number 10 too.
Yep.
Suppose we can skip to that first.
So this has to go to
Got these.
Carla too, right, for signature,
That's
put in
true.
the file. and
Yep.
It's already done.
Consider for approval auditors quarterly report. Where did the time go? Too fast.
Just wait till we get to do the millennial reports. Remember that? Everybody's, the world's gonna end, it's millennial, everything's gonna shut down.
People were hoarding things.
I remember that.
and Water.
The
and-
computers are gonna die.
Haywire, and
Mhm.
Y2K,
Yeah, Y2K.
forgot all about that. I'm scared again.
Start hoarding.
I'll make a motion to approve the auditor's quarterly report.
I'll second it.
Motion by Jensvold, seconded by Derby to approve the auditor's quarterly report. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Always have to see how many parking tickets we're giving out.
Well, Waldorf's out, so it's less this time.
Oh, sure. And so the recount cost $100?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's interesting.
If the results would have changed, we would have given him his money back, but since the results were the same, we get to keep it.
Well, that's how that works. Okay, interesting. Okay, so we are on to approve the sheriff's quarterly report.
I'll make a motion to approve the sheriff's quarterly report.
I'll second it.
A motion by Derby and seconded by Jensvold to approve the sheriff's quarterly report. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion passed. Number 10, discuss ATV resolution.
Did you guys hear from Kelsey at all on this? No?
I never saw it.
I didn't see anything.
She said, I guess it is just to Scott and I, but she reviewed the language and it appears the county can no longer regulate ATVs on unpaved secondary roads except when the road is closed to traffic. And she lists the code section, or when it is designated as a detour route, or for no more than 7 consecutive days, no more than 30 days in a calendar year. And the new state law would supersede our resolution, but it would be cleaner if the board adopted an amended or new resolution if they want to regulate any paved, undivided secondary roads as allowed. to designate the days as indicated above, or simply rescind the prior resolution. That's what she stated.
Well, I don't know that there's anything we have to do beyond what the state did.
Right. I don't, the way I see it, I don't think so.
So if we just rescinded our resolution.
Because they do address some of that in this new law,
Yeah.
stuff that she
We
listed
were
here.
way ahead of them.
Yeah.
So no action is needed.
No.
We would just muddy
And we
the,
should put it on, I would like to have it on the agenda to rescind the resolution we had done 12 years ago. 11
It was
years ago,
2012, so it's 10,
10 years ago.
August 20th.
so put it on next week's agenda.
Yeah, if you guys wanna look at it.
Yeah.
Make that decision.
We just
Sounds good.
cleaner and, I mean.
Yeah. And I think that's what a lot of counties are doing.
Is it?
Is they just had a resolution, they're just doing away with it.
The ones that had an ordinance,
Yeah, they have to change things a little bit.
they're gonna have hearings.
And our resolution was saying that they could drive on them.
Yeah.
I assume.
I think we were about the third county or second or third county to do it. And I think Franklin was one of the first.
So, like, is our sheriff's department and all of the different city law enforcement aware of this then? And so
I
they
would think they would be. I haven't heard anything from any of them. I know some towns have their own fee. I think Forest
Forest
City
City
does.
does.
So I don't know. I probably need to get in contact with them and just see what they're going to do.
But they, Forest City is also for golf carts, so they're gonna have
Yeah.
to separate it.
Yeah, because that's not really considered an ORV.
there's gonna be some confusion.
And there has been some confusion about off-road motorcycles. It's not real clear, the small ones, because the law, I think they intended to include those, or intended not to, but it's not clear, so they're considering those like an ATV. But now the DNR is telling us they need to register it with the DOT if they want to ride it on the road. So. I don't know.
And if they go into a state ATV park, they need to register it with your office or something. Also,
Yeah, it's a separate user permit.
well, would it just be a user permit or it'd be their registration through the DNR?
Probably-
They don't have a user permit,
Just for out-of-state people, they have a user permit.
but I mean, if I owned a dirt bike
Mm-hmm.
and I licensed it so I could go on the road, but I wanted to go into one of the parks, let's say down in Fort Dodge, I would have to register with the DNR.
Yes, you're right. So then you'd have both. And that happens once in a while.
I don't know if I want to do that for my C50 or not.
So we just need that resolution for next week's, so we
Discussion,
have it.
possible
discussion
action
and
of the resolution.
Possible action, yeah.
The other thing on the same line was, we had talked about something out by Rice Lake about the golf carts. And that's kind of the same, but
Yeah,
it's more concentrated around that any golf course.
Well, it was Happy Time or not Happy Time, that was what we had
Yeah, I guess
discussed.
one of them. We've got 3 golf courses and
Mhm.
campgrounds.
Campgrounds. They're getting more and more popular all the time.
That might be something in the future we have to look at too.
see where they fall under or what they need to be used.
Because we were talking like within, 2 miles or something, or 1 mile or of a golf cart.
And you can't drive on the blacktop.
So then,
I
that's
got
what,
mine on the blacktop last Wednesday night.
What were you doing there? I don't want
he was
I
golfing,
pulled it,
he was golfing, oh,
and it went rolling across the road, so I drove up on the blacktop, see if I got lucky, but it went in, but no, it was the ditch.
Just a lawsuit waiting to happen.
So you're gonna lead this discussion then?
Sure. A few years ago, I pulled one and bounced one right in front of a pickup and it hit his bumper. That was back in the good old days when they had bell bumpers and went bumping together. It was kind of fun.
Thank you for that.
That was entertaining, but
Is there any more discussion about the ATV resolution, or we have that all kind of
I think we're good.
settled?
I think I'm done.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Discuss the avenues to solve EMS problems. How many hours do we have left in the day?
You want copies of these?
what is it?
These are the three options
Oh, the three options.
that Andy sent out.
Yeah, thanks, that'd be all right.
Like Carl said, it'd be nice if other people come up with other
Well,
ideas.
I don't
Well, I think
remember.
that they,
It seems like I remember some of the other options at the meeting being slightly different than what he had here, but
well, maybe theirs are in one of these three. There's three options.
Did you need one?
Yeah, please.
I can do that.
Honestly, that's why there's 18 people in that committee. We just need lots of ideas.
And they came up with,
Andy came up with three. There are others who have also come up with proposals.
Just call it the Todd proposal.
The Todd proposal, okay. Some people are very adamant that, you know, theirs and not necessarily a hybrid of it is the way to go, so still lots of work to be done. So why are we discussing this during this board meeting?
Because we don't have a chance to discuss any of this. Because I kind of felt like at the last meeting, we kind of were sitting there unable to really comment on anything because we hadn't had a chance to really
So if it
go over
comes
things.
before this board here and now, then we
Even though we're
can have,
just ex officios, we need to be a part of the discussion maybe.
we can have conversations about it.
We are pretty limited what we can discuss other than on an agenda item.
We do.
We have option one on,
So I would consider option one a lower cost version, but will it, and we have to discuss, will it solve our problem?
why would it be each one may receive up to? You would think each one would just receive the same.
And, you know, that option one could simply be expanded to, in the same manner, only with more dollars towards each service, if we feel. But he indicated pilot program good for 1 to 3 years. I hate to have to go through this in just another 3 years. But how confident we are this would solve the problem.
So, I mean, under this one here, they would be able to pay,
Possibly pay personnel, if that's gonna solve some of their problems.
yeah, to get more
And
volunteers to come out of the woodwork. if
They
knew
are
were gonna get more
somewhat
for it.
paying some volunteers,
Yes, yeah, somewhat, but it isn't here.
right?
$5 an hour. Or,
$2 an hour to be on call, or
well,
in some cases.
what they get for a call, Mesa City and back, by the time they do those, at least 3 hours, I think they get $15. You know, so it's $5 an hour for emergency medical services. charging that.
That's part of what I wish they would have brought to us in paper was what they're paying now. You know, just like what you just said. When somebody goes on call, what are their personnel costs, you know?
It seems like Buffalo Center, I might be wrong, but it seems like the first responders get 15, and then like an EMT or whatever gets 20 for a whole call. And then they get some.
So they're getting,
$20 an hour for the whole
No,
call?
for the call.
$20
$20
for the
for
whole
the
thing.
3-hour call. So if you're getting 15, you're getting $5.
you're
an hour.
almost, you're a
First
little under
responders
minimum
making
wage
$5
is
an
what
hour.
you're doing as an EMT. I think it's higher over in Lake Mills. Well, it's a little different structure, I think, in Lake Mills.
Yeah, they've all got it designed slightly different.
And it's not, the need for that information isn't so much, you know, I just kind of want to know what they're affording now, what they can do more later.
Some of the people that aren't volunteering, I don't know if it's necessarily a money issue, they just don't want the intrusion into their private lives, I guess, as far as. Because it can be a commitment.
Oh, yeah.
So whether the money will work or not is, yeah, maybe in some cases, but in some cases not, I guess.
You know, on option one, just giving it to the services, you know, because there was questions whether, you know, the accountability is there. I think we can make sure of that, but there's always going to be that question for people.
And if they're paying personnel, they're paying personnel. I mean, and if they're not, they shouldn't be using it for anything else. So
Well, I mean, here it talks about training and
yeah.
Well, and they would turn an invoice in, like anybody else would turn in an invoice to me,
What they used it for.
and I would double check it just like I would do anybody else's invoice in the entire county. So it's not like there would be
A lot of room for
fraud,
fraud.
because I would double check the invoices and,
Yeah, it doesn't seem to me like it would be, I mean, he's got on here maybe open misuse, but I'm doubting that.
I think when we have an external auditor involved, I think she's going to be looking at these three services if they're getting monies.
well, and when in the county if there's something that I've questioned, have I not brought it to you and went, I don't think you should pay this, you know?
Right.
So how much more work does this really make for the auditor's office?
This year would be minuscule.
I think option 2 is what makes more work for the auditor's office, not option 1.
Option one is transfers of funds, kind of like to Windward
Yeah.
Petco and any of those.
Yeah, I don't think option 1's a big deal. I think option 2 is where the work to the auditor's office comes in, because
We're hiring people. under the
hiring
county.
people for the county. And I don't personally think that's issue, best route. I mean, to me, option 1 is probably the cleanest.
I think option 1 is the only thing we're gonna be able to sell to the taxpayers, at least on this short time frame that we have, and
Because it's just simple.
because it's simple. I mean, if we had another 6 months to work on this, I think we could come up with something maybe for option 2, that we could really dig in the weeds and figure it all out. But with 3 meetings left, I don't think,
What about option three? I mean, that's kind of a hybrid between the two. We're not taking over the whole thing, we're just taking over the,
Option 3 was where a lot of people were leaning
I think so.
towards in the meeting.
But then we would be hiring people as accountants.
There would be hiring them.
Would this, though, the question I got on this, would this be the current paramedics and that are under the city of Fort City would be under the county then? Is that the way I understand this?
I don't think
The way
so.
I understood is that,
That's the way it looks.
yeah,
You know, at that meeting, Barney maybe indicated that Forest City would retain theirs, and there'd be others through the county. Gets complicated, I think, that way. You'd have people working for both, you know, back and forth.
Yeah, Barney kind of indicated that he wanted to leave Forest Cities alone, and
And I don't know if
That's
that was
what I heard
over, I don't know if that was over the worry that it would be relocated out of Forest City, you know. I think that's probably more what his
So
concern is.
there's no reason to relocate them out of
No,
Forest City because
no, and
they need them, they need what they have here.
This proposal says staff will be housed in Forest City and another location.
I don't know, I kind of think option one, and you give them the money to hire, give each service the money to hire
Well, then
one
you're gonna have
paramedic.
to max it out to get enough to hire paramedics. Or
Because
you're gonna do
this dollar amount is only 42 cents on 1,000.
Yeah. But then, but we don't have to stick with, I mean,
So what can, if we do, let's just say option one ends up being the most popular. And then we have more time, we keep this committee in place and even do more research. How can we transition from this to a new, better, possibly better research
It would have to
program?
be, wow,
with
are you saying we're not
years?
gonna vote on it in November?
No, I'm saying we're gonna vote on it and do this, number one.
And we go 1 to 3 years as it says?
Yeah,
Then you'd have to have another vote, I'm guessing.
up for another vote.
You'd probably have to have another advisory committee.
But could this
gather
same
the
advisory committee just stay in place and keep working on it?
I think it's too big.
I think it's too big.
Yeah, you don't want that big of a, we've got 20-some members at an advisory committee, and it's complicated.
But you can see which ones are doing the work.
Going down the
you know.
road for approving, divvying out the money to the EMS, you don't want more than 5 to 7 people.
So you shrink it. You shrink it.
Yeah,
Just like what
And that
Sue's
was-
saying, you shrink it.
Yeah, but, and that's what our intent was all along, but, yeah, we don't want 20
no,
people on it.
to eventually have a steering committee or however you wanna call that. But it has been a lot to digest in a small amount of time, and so, I just didn't know how easy it would be to transition from this to something if we come up with something better.
yeah, if we go, like, if we decide later that we need more money, we'd have to do another vote.
Or we change the process to another option type thing, you know, say we go from option 1 to option 3, we're gonna have to.
So what will the general public think, you know, if we, let's just say we approve a 42 cent per 1,000 tax, and then we think we find out that that's not enough in
That's my fear, that
2 or 3 years, and then what, we put it up for another vote, that now it's 5 cents per 1,000?
the people I've talked to had no problem with going up to the 75. I mean, these people own a lot of land. They were fine with it. They thought
So
that
ag land-
dollar
The
an
trouble,
acre.
the trouble is if you don't do enough in the first time, then it's gonna make it complicated to increase it later, because you're gonna have another election.
Yes,
Yeah.
and that's what I'm asking, is how
To
many
me, it's,
hoops do we have to jump through?
The thing of it is you can do the vote for the 75 cents, but then only levy 42 cents.
yes,
Oh,
and then we could increase it later if we wanted to, because it's already been okayed at the 75.
But then how long do you do that for? What time frame?
what time
Are
frame?
you talking 4 years, are you talking 8 years, are you talking 12 years?
The most you can do is 15, right?
Yeah, but we wanna do an odd, or an even
An even
number
number.
a year for a general election.
Yeah. Well, the only reason that I just don't think you're gonna get it done with, to alleviate enough stress on the ambulance crews with the 270 that they've got here.
I don't think so.
No,
And then you're gonna have to look at, does Fort City get more, because they have 3 ambulances, and Lake Mills has 2, Buffalo's only got 1. You're gonna divvy it out per ambulance or per service. That's where it gets complicated. Fort City's got the population, but there's still a large percentage of the tax dollars in Winnebago County come from somewhere besides the city limits of Fort City,
absolutely.
so.
Fort City's also would probably get from Worth County, and they get still from Hancock County, so they're getting other funding also.
Madam Chair, if I could be so bold, there are people out there who have properties right now that they're barely holding on to because of the situation that they're in right now with our current economy. And we've done polls on KIW about this, and there's lots of concerns as to what do I get back from it. If taxes were to go up, people are concerned about that. If you want to get this through the taxpayers, it has to be demonstrated that there's a tremendous amount of organization behind this, that this is exactly what we're going to do, and this is how it's going to alleviate a problem. I haven't read these proposals. I don't know what it's like, but it's sounding like number one makes the most sense, because it's going to be easier for the public to understand why they have to take more out of their food budget, their rent budget, their gas budget, to pay for a process that the county, from the looks of it, from the outsider, can't afford.
The one thing about option 3 that opens up opportunity is, option 3 the county would more than likely take over the paramedics from Fort City and, keep them in Fort City, and then have daytime paramedics to back up during the week. But you'd have 24-hour paramedic service like you do now, plus. So beyond that part of it, where was I going with this? Oh, it would open up the opportunity, because first point of on the call would be the paramedic to come on the scene, which would open up the opportunity for billing for the transport services that do the billing, that if needed, the paramedic is in on the scene and assessing whether the transport is needed or what type of services are needed. Mm-hmm. Then in the billing part of it, either through insurance, Medicare, or Medicaid, you can almost double what you can get back on that. And the possibility of the transport service keeping a portion of the fee of the paramedic to help their budgets to be able to pay people. So we wouldn't be giving them money in that one, but it would open up opportunity for them to be able to generate more revenue.
For it, yeah.
Because that's the way
Julie has left.
That's the way the for-profit ones do it. You have a paramedic on the scene making those assessments and triaging it, and then that opens up the building.
But by the same token, I go to school for a year, 2 years, to get into the EMT field. How am I getting paid back through, just like we would go to school for a business degree or something like that, we get paid back for that. It seems like, okay, if I go to be an EMT, I want to go to one of the major metropolitan areas because I know I got a full-time salary. And
you can get that around here.
You can.
I think there's some getting those salaries around here, and then that's part of
I
this.
don't know about EMTs, but paramedics certainly are.
They're talking EMTs being a couple bucks less than the paramedics when they're talking price structure.
And see, I think that's where the misnomer is, because everybody seems to think, well, an EMT, oh, they just get, it's volunteer, you hear the word
Well, and
volunteer.
it depends on what service you're at too.
I don't think there's any, the EMT at Buffalo Ambulance just slightly more than the first responder.
Yeah.
They're not a full-time salary, they're just volunteer people that have the EMT education.
And I think Fort City probably pays better on the EMT.
Well, they just hired a full-time EMT for Fort City.
Yeah, so it depends
That
on
would be
where
the
you're
first
at.
one in the county then, isn't it? I don't think they've hired a full-time EMT before, that I know of. Not in Buffalo anyway, I know that for sure.
That was part of our struggle
Because
when we
Buffalo-
asked for information from the services. They weren't understanding what we wanted, and, you know, that communication every 2 weeks was a little strained.
The Buffalo Ambulance has no full-time employees.
Right.
I guess that's what we're talking about doing, is putting full-time employees into each service to alleviate it on the volunteers, and then you also, if somebody's gonna have a full-time job out of it, they're also, like you say, are gonna be more apt to wanna go through the schooling to know that they're gonna,
If I know I'm gonna get a return.
Yeah.
I
What
mean,
does the schooling cost? How expensive
Well,
I'm
is
trying to
that?
remember when we.
the
partnered
schooling is
with
paid for by
paramedics.
the ambulance service,
Right,
but, the part is that it's pretty intrusive if you're not gonna get nothing back for it. If you're not gonna get paid for it, if you're just a volunteer, the class is not easy and it's rather time consuming to be
Yes.
a EMT paramedic, of course, is even worse, but,
I know we partnered with Fort City on Spencer's
Yeah.
education.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember,
Seems
we were
we
half
could-
of that or third of it, or?
yeah,
I think we paid half.
Yeah,
I'll ask Chris
I mean,
quick.
is it a $40,000?
We'll find out here.
the thing of it is when I ran the EMT program at White River in Arizona, at my community college where I was the administrator, everybody that got out of there got a full-time job, and they were in the same kind of community size as what we have here. So we would have, on average, anywhere from 5 to 7 EMTs, potential EMTs, paramedics, going into the nursing school at the college. And they were coming out and they were getting jobs. It was an incentive because they knew that they were gonna get paid. And so we had a continuous flow of people that were understanding, hey, I'm gonna get something out of this. This is something I wanna do. Now, problem is you have burnout because there's lots of things going on. Without getting into too much specifics, you saw a lot of suicides where we were located. I actually watched one happen right in front of me, jumping off of a cliff. So that's why I'm saying it's curious. We hear the word volunteer as the public. So where's the incentive for me to go to work for you or to do this? Then let's throw the hero mentality out the window and let's get down to brass tacks, the fact that everything's costing more around here. I need something to take care of myself. So I'm just throwing that out as the general public. This is what I hear. So give me an incentive for another one of my family members to go into medicine. Seems like everybody in my family is, at least children and otherwise.
So do we,
it seems like to me we put in 20,000 for his education for some reason.
Chris says 7,000.
Is that all it was?
Okay, 15,000 is probably what it costs.
You're talking about a 15-month program. It's not going to be that expensive. But the question is, what do I get back out of
And
it
the
again?
EMT, aren't they doing the EMT right
Yes.
down here?
Yes, and
I don't think it's that.
is there anybody in it though?
That's a 0 one. I thought there was a cost, but it wasn't much.
No, as
No,
far
there's
as number of people.
no people.
Yeah.
There were two.
Yes,
They
there were
drop
two.
out.
It's, that EMT coursework, I have seen it, I have watched you have a lot of fallout. It's like, without getting into too much specifics, college algebra is the washout course for kids going to college. You could say the same thing about the EMTs, you could say the same thing about the paramedics, because you're learning everything from bone structure to cells to biology and how they interact, and it just gets to be tough. At least the program we were doing. I don't know what they're doing over here with NIAC, but I assume it's probably gonna be the same thing.
It's not easy. I know people that have taken it and didn't pass it. It's not easy.
So when we're on that outside looking in, we don't see what people go through in order to get to that level. And I think that's part of the misnomer here. It's like, oh, well, he just rides around in an ambulance and, no.
So do we have just for our own discussion before tomorrow evening, are you leaning certain ways?
Well, I'd
gentlemen?
kind of like a 1A, where, option 1A, where we go to the 75-cent level and put those numbers down into the 1A. Because the committee's got to look at what's going to be sellable to the public. It has to come to a vote.
So this doesn't have anything about the retail tax.
No,
No.
no, but he knows, he's looking at what we know. I'm still waiting to hear back from Department of Revenue. John hasn't got back to me yet on the final on that, and Kelsey hasn't defined it either. But we're leaning towards the most we can get from income tax, surtax, would be 94,000 at this point. It's a pretty small number compared to income tax.
Compared to what we need.
There are people that would still like to see that combination,
And
whether we go to 60 cents on property tax and then go income surtax plus to come up with the same amount
Sure.
of money or something.
So do we have the numbers like to discuss with taxpayers of, what a 70, is it 72 or 75?
75 is max.
75 is max.
$38 for 40 acres.
So you can,
$38 for 40 acres.
Depends on
But
what
is it
your
not
CSR
based
is.
on
I mean,
CSR?
that's the high
on-
CSR.
That's higher,
That's
there's
the high
higher than that,
CSR.
but yeah,
Yeah,
an average high, strong, out in Mountain Valley was much,
it was
A
less.
little bit less.
That was down closer to
Sure.
mid-20s somewhere, it seems
Yeah.
like.
it's in that PowerPoint.
And if
that
you had a
I used.
$100,000 house, it was gonna be,
A $200,000 house was $50, wasn't it? I mean,
Something
we have to
like
put it in those numbers because otherwise people are just not gonna, they're gonna think,
you had it on a printed sheet.
yeah, I think it was 200,000 or
I
it was
can,
50.
and that's in my other book that I
Yeah.
bring to the meeting, so.
But we need little
Seems like you
crib
sent it to
sheets
us
when
in an
people are
email.
talking
I
to
think
us.
I
It's
did.
like, okay, well, if you're willing to tell me how much your house is worth or how much land you own, this is what it could be.
If you guys give me that kind of an example, I could put that kind of a story out. And it would be, I could get this
I think
information out to everybody so they would understand. Here are the rewards for the EMTs, here are the rewards for the paramedics, here are the rewards for the public, and this is how much it will actually cost. Because then, if people are able to see actual dollar figures, they're able to say, okay, I can swing that, or I can move that. But right now, if you put a hypothetical out, no one's gonna listen.
To assure that I will have ambulance service to my field out in Timbuktu, 4 miles outside of Brake and almost to the Minnesota border. It's just, those are the kinds of things that people are gonna wanna know.
Exactly. So that would mean a sit down with one or all. Obviously, we can't do it together because that would violate all kinds of rules, and we know who gets sticky about that.
Well, where else do we wanna go with this discussion?
Well, I'll look at, here's the numbers, this is still the first one, so I think it should have been fair. Levy rate. Okay, so $100,000 house would be $36.28 per year, but then that's after your homestead tax credit. And that's at the maximum 75 cents. And then the $106,000 commercial business down here on the highway, after the rollback, is $71.79. 40 acres in Mount Valley would be it'd be $19.53. That's a CSR 32.18, so it's pretty low CSR out there. And then 39 acres in Buffalo Township.
You're gonna have a harder sell over there.
I don't know,
That's
I was given the Buffalo Township numbers to a very big farmer over this way, and they're like, per acre? You know, we're talking $40.64, just over $1 an acre is what it is. It's an easy way to do it. I mean,
Yeah.
$1 an acre for a farmer to have this, so,
But so the burden still
on the property tax,
lands on,
unless we also go for the income
retail.
surtax.
yes.
Maybe back this off.
I think that if you have that in there, personally, I think it's a little bit easier sell, even though it's less than $100,000. At least we're not taxing property 100, the whole thing is coming out of that.
As a percentage of the net worth, your average farmer is gonna pay less than your average homeowner, because your average homeowner is paying a higher rate of tax on their property. So I haven't talked to anybody that owns land that's gonna be overly upset with this. They all want an ambulance.
Right, and the way that I explained it to somebody too is, well, I'm a farmer, and we have 13, 14 different parcels, so if an ambulance has to go to, just your house and your acreage, that's 2 parcels. But there is more places they have to go to service my land. There's potentially 14 different E911 addresses that they have to go to. So that's how I've been kind of trying to sell it a little bit to my farmer friends.
There are some young people that think that they may not need it, that those are the ones who are gonna have a harder time getting to vote for it. They don't wanna see $50 extra on their taxes or whatever.
But there's a lot of voters that don't own
On what
property
taxes?
either.
Well, like if they own a house, and if you're young, you're figuring, it's kind of like young people not buying health insurance back when you could do that. They just took the risk because they're figuring they're probably going to be all right. And I know a lot of people have saved a lot of money over the years by doing that.
Well, we're gonna bring these to the meeting tomorrow.
Which is when?
evening. Buffington will.
Where is the meeting?
Thompson, Public Library at 6
Okay.
PM tomorrow night. Normally on Tuesdays, but switched to Wednesday for
Because of the fair.
the fair.
I don't think we're going to be able to get anything done without, and I hate to play into the hand of some people that without going for the maximum levy, you're just not going to have the dollars there to alleviate the problem we have. I mean, I would love to not have to do any of it, but if we're going to do something, I think it's, because each one of them guys, by the time you pay them benefits, we're talking a minimum of $400,000 for 4 people. And we're awful close. And in order to probably alleviate the, so you got guys that can do different shifts and stuff, it's gonna take 4 to 6 people, I think.
I guess if we're divvying it out to the EMS services and you still have your, I don't know what you still have, Forest City would still probably have their paramedic system. And then do we still kick 75,000 to the paramedic service? You know, that's part of our budget now.
Well, it all depends on whether they're still gonna have to travel to the other part of the county,
This,
which.
this does not reflect anything on the paramedic service.
If you get paramedics hired and put them in other places in the county, then we don't need the Forest City paramedics anymore, in a sense.
You're saying they should be under the EMS.
Well, yeah, if we hired paramedics, they'd be hired by the private services or whatever. And then Forest City wouldn't have to run all over the place anymore. So then they can probably get by with less paramedics.
You'd still have some backup going on if there's some big event.
I mean, in order to cover the whole county, they have to have at least an extra paramedic hired. And if they didn't have to count that, then they wouldn't have to hire an extra paramedic, and that would, if they lost that 75,000, they would gain it back by not having to have that extra employee.
Oh, okay. But I'm running the numbers in the head, yeah, you're right.
So they would truly not really lose anything.
Because the system we have right now for the city of Forest City is about 300,000 a year.
Which services not just Winnebago, but Hancock County, because you have the industrial district as well
So
too.
you get 15,000 from Hancock County to the paramedics and 15,000 to the EMS from Hancock County.
But the county, they are compensating
Forest City.
Forest City.
Yes.
Yeah, 15 goes to EMS and 15 goes to the city of Forest City for the paramedics. So,
Cheers.
Thank you for your support.
Well, I want to see this go through. So,
Thank you. All right,
So I guess I'd still like to know, how are we gonna present this tomorrow night? I mean, are we gonna give them a chance to vote on different options?
Well, I think that all the options should be discussed.
Yeah.
And then at some point, we have to discuss maybe, like you say, have an option 1A. Because in order to really alleviate the problem, I think we're gonna have to do more than 270. So,
I agree, Bill.
Do you think
I
that
guess-
people are comfortable enough to do voice votes? Or should we have a printed ballot for them?
I think that there's gonna be more plans than this tomorrow night. I don't think there's just.
They could just be, if we have pieces of paper for them to put something down on.
Yeah, do you like A, B, C, D, or E?
have like a secret ballot or whatever.
I don't know if that's necessary, but, I mean, people have been,
Some people are feeling
that's why I
not
wanted to
comfortable
go,
talking in front of other people.
I wanted to go around to each person.
They're still not comfortable talking when there's other people interrupting them as they talk.
That's true.
And there's a lot of that.
And
Yeah,
there
and
is a lot
that's
of
the
that.
part I don't think is going well. at
Well,
the
like-
meeting.
So here's an example. Dan Yagi, the first night, asked some questions, and somebody bit his head off, and he's not been back.
That's not why. He ain't gonna be there tomorrow night either.
Okay, well,
He's got a meeting in Sioux Falls that he said planned for months.
okay.
If it was
But-
Thursday night, he could have been there,
But literally, I mean, the
yeah,
first
that's
night,
not- The last meeting, he sent me a message during the meeting, and he was out spraying, and he just forgot. That's not why Dan's used to having people bite on his head, he's not overly afraid of that. He just.
But you're right, there are people who aren't willing to, it's just more difficult for them to speak in front of a group like that. And it's a large group, and there's some of them are pretty headstrong.
it's intimidating.
It's intimidating.
One
I
other
get that.
committee member mentioned to me, do you think it would be better to keep it the small committee level, break it out to the 3 committees, they thought they got more done that way. Yeah, there were certain things that were accomplished, but I don't think going forward, we're at that
I
point,
don't
we're
think so.
beyond that.
I think we're beyond that
No,
too.
we've
It
got-
just gets repetitive then and just turns
It
into,
takes up too much time and we're not, I think we're down to where we gotta have a plan and how we're gonna fund it.
Mhm.
So,
you know,
the agenda hasn't been sent out yet, has it?
I did send it out, and basically all I
It
put
was
on
pretty short.
was come up with a plan.
Yep, no, it was,
that's all right. That's okay. That's all we need for an
I mean,
agenda.
if you want me to add something, I can
Well,
add
I mean, I think we need to come up with a plan, then discuss how are we gonna fund it.
yeah,
But of course, the funding would kind of depend on the plan too.
That's what I think
I
too.
don't think the final vote should be made tomorrow night, though, as far as,
I don't either. And I would certainly put to the group, let's meet every week until the end, until we get to the end of this. You know, it's not that much of a time commitment. We have not been there that many months
I
and
think
months.
we're close.
I think we can probably shorten the meeting tomorrow night if we just have the focus on different plans and.
But here's the other thing, if somebody starts talking about what the problem is again, you need to be like,
Yeah.
that's enough, we're talking about solutions, we're not talking about the
We've
problems
identified
anymore.
the problem a long time ago.
So we can't afford the real,
And the person to sit
Well,
next
it's hard to know how much that
Not
wants to be
you,
managed
but
because, you know, it is the group that we chose from across the county. I don't wanna, you know, cut anybody short if they have something important to say. Cause I think there's gonna be other plans tomorrow night.
There has to be other plans, otherwise nobody's doing their job.
I mean, we can't afford the real solution.
I wasn't,
So we've gotta come up with something we can afford.
I didn't fully comprehend Thomas's plan. I appreciate everything he did for it. I think his is here somewhere.
Mhm.
I just wanted to make sure it was the same as what we're looking at
Yeah, well, I think they're
Thomas
looking
used
out,
to
for Four City.
they're looking out for Four Cities program, you know, and the rest of us are looking at the whole.
It was clearly evident the very first public forum we had that the other services had one problem, and Four City has another. I mean, they're not all the same.
They're not the same.
Well, Four Cities got a little bigger well to pull out of.
Which
Yeah.
is another reason to let them identify their own problems and solve them in their own ways, with
If you
funding how they need it.
give each one the money, then they can solve the problem however they want.
I've heard from some certain conservative party members that do not want another big infrastructure budget to build a new building, you know, in this plan.
No, I don't think we need new buildings. We need people.
That's the long and short of it, we need people.
Across the board,
Somehow we gotta be
everywhere.
able
I
to
mean,
give
look
incentive.
for every job we've posted for in the county since I've been on here.
If it comes down to tomorrow night that a 1A or 1B is the way to go, I think it should be put back to, well, we need to have conversations with the people there from those services. Will this solve your problems? How will you deal with it?
And you will be accountable.
Well, like I said, I don't think we can afford the real solution. Because we don't, we're gonna put on a big Band-Aid at best.
Again, that's why I wanted to know that if this is something that we can pitch and the voters go for it, but if it's not enough or it isn't effective, what kind of time frame, what time of plan can we then do?
We gotta figure out what the timeline of this is gonna be, how long it'll last, so we can readdress it.
that's this group here that has to come up with budgets and if it's gonna work and how it's gonna work. Any additional input, Carla?
Not
I
right
like,
now.
I like to hear what you think about these things too. You see it up close and personal every day in your office.
I think there's some pretty vocal people in the group that think that number 2 is the only way to go. And that's
I don't think there's a large number of them. There's probably just,
pretty vocal
yeah,
Bunch.
they're vocal.
that, and that makes me nervous.
There's people that aren't gonna wanna turn over. That ain't gonna happen.
Well, and from a county point of view, that's a great big step.
It is a great big step.
But it's not a step that we couldn't take in 5 years if we need to, or 6 years, right? I mean, we're not ruling out anything by doing,
With what we do with number 1, it's gonna kick the ball down the, you know, and then we'll have time to see if things are gonna get better or gonna get worse. If they get worse, then we're gonna have to go on to something different. If it gets worse, we can afford something different in a sense. I mean, it's, you know, they only,
It's too bad that we don't have a hospital or some kind of a
Specialty clinic or.
facility or something that,
wouldn't that be great? It would just make,
Because of a large number of the calls are during the day. We had a clinic, they, you know, take.
that is starting to happen in other parts of the country. These doctors are starting to back away from the conglomerates. These big hospital conglomerates I don't think it is the best thing we've ever done. I think we were better off if we all had our private hospitals.
I mean, I look at Pocahontas, Iowa, has 2,000 people in it and has a hospital. Why can't Forest City, Iowa have a hospital? I don't understand. I do not understand. We've got a college here and, you know, I just don't.
nursing home and
Yeah,
daycare and, you know, there's just,
I do not understand.
So you're saying it should include a hospital levy?
ooh.
I ain't going there.
No.
I just don't understand how it couldn't work here. I mean, like, how come it shut
How come
down?
it didn't? Yeah.
I guess I never really did find out why.
I know, one
why it
reason,
isn't there.
the Buffalo Clinic, the reason it went out is just because it got to the point where you couldn't afford the malpractice insurance as a small hospital, and they've driven small hospitals out of business with lawsuits and malpractice insurance, because a huge group can sustain that loss better or whatever somehow, even though that doesn't seem to make sense, because you get more doctors in a bigger hospital, you're gonna have more
Kind of
malpractice
like a
suits,
pool of money instead.
but yeah, it's kind of like a mental health region, I guess, you kind of got together.
Kind of like this ad on the back of the ISAC magazine. Pools are trending in Iowa and across the country. You know, 90% of counties participate in a risk-sharing pool in Iowa. 80% across the country.
Oh, we do.
Yeah.
So, enough on that, guys? All right,
Right.
open forum.
So you have your marching orders and how to keep it moving.
You can chime in anytime you want.
I have.
No one has put a muzzle on either of you guys.
I don't want to be accused of,
And you even sit in the back cheap seats.
I don't want to be accused of influencing people
Thank you.
Once you open it up,
Yeah.
Where's he?
provide.
Oh,
Well, he is Willie today, isn't he?
good grief.
Good Lord.
So, no, but we're gonna put it on next week's agenda, just wanted, Ruth called me, Ruth Melby, and the stipend money that we had put on was done July 1 with that, but she still has, accountability to those clients, so,
All depends on what their case is. It's probably being able to be handled by night.
right. I just wanna make sure that I tell her how to do, what to do with that. So it's on the agenda for next week.
But we should, maybe I'll have to send a note to Kelsey to work with Worth County on how they're doing their 2080 with NICAO.
Yeah.
So she doesn't have to come up with something new.
Okay.
And you told me it's Cindy, what's her last name?
So I gotta look it up.
And a contact at all? And then I'd like the contact information for Rick Lilly as well. Is it Rich or Rick?
It's probably right there.
Oh, you think?
Cindy Davis.
You can just
I
send it.
will forward you an email.
Okay, perfect, thanks.
Well, actually, you got it to start with, but I'll forward it again.
All right. Nothing else for open forum?
Nope.
All right then, we stand adjourned.
Computer.
Just in time.